Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another Trauma Talk Tuesday segment with myself, your Freedom Coach Nataushia Miller, and our guest speaker this evening, author Javis Howard. And we are here to talk about freedom of expression and how exercising your freedom of expression is very important when it comes to being your best self and living your best life after trauma. And we're also promoting our upcoming book compilation. And so far, we know the subtitle Healing Hearts with Prophetic Poetry.
Yeah.
So soon we'll have a title for you all. But anyhow, let's get into it. So welcome, Javis. Um, since we're here to talk about to help people tap into their best self and their best life after trauma, let's first start off with a particular traumatic experience that you may want to highlight as we really move into giving them some tools and why it's important to exercise their freedom of expression. Good evening, Miss Shavia. Thank you for joining us for the live broadcast. All right.
Yeah, so the one I want to highlight is losing my parents, both of my parents, before I got out of elementary. And the traumatic experience was, well, first, I was too young to really understand what I was lost. But as life went on, I would definitely feel it. So I realized as I began to grow, I lost the ability to express myself personality wise, as far as presence and then with people. So personality wise is first didn't even have the ability to really find myself, right? So losing my guidance to my mom and father, I lost that leadership, on what I can be or, feeling comfortable being. And then as far as presence, I went internally, I began to hide. And then with people being reluctant to open up. So as far as tips with people, you definitely want to break it down in those three things that will help you begin to deep dive how your trauma has affected each of those things. So your personality, right, your authentic self, having to discover that presence, how are you around people, and then again, people actually engaging with people.
Mm, that's good. That's good. Um, Thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that came to me while you were speaking is
Hmm.
internalized
Yeah,
trauma, and
yep,
that happens and that really happens a lot when we experience traumatic experiences in our childhood because we
hmm,
don't have the ability to. Hello, Miss Helen. Welcome. Thank you for chiming in for the live broadcast. We don't have the ability to fully process our
hmm,
emotions and to critically
hmm,
think, to process even our mental thoughts and responses to the trauma. And so, for
hmm,
you to say that you've lost your ability to express self, it's a clear
hmm,
indication that everything was internalized
hmm,
because expression is to express what's happening internally,
right,
externally, so others can, and it's to communicate. And I love how you
right,
say it's communicating with your personality,
hmm,
with your presence, and how you engage people,
people,
your
no,
interactions with people. So
yes,
that's
ma'am.
excellent, excellent. So share with us a turning point. What is a turning point that really brought you to a place to where you began to tap into your freedom of expression and come out of the shell that you created for yourself as a sense of safety and security because of that trauma? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the way I explain, if anybody were to ask me what is healing like, is learning that the traumatic experience has covered, like buried your diamond, and you're doing work to dig it out. So with your programs, I like to call them in this analogy, they're like shovels, and you help me heal and really get a glimpse of who God calls us to be corporately and then individually. And once I got a glimpse of what who Javis Howard was like, who he created to be, I was like, man, like I gotta get to that, right? But that came with some challenges because it's like that's not what and I say taught myself because losing my parents, I became very observative of what everybody else was doing, how everybody else was talking. So I had my definition of a man and what was cool and what was popular was challenged. And because it was like God was showing me one thing and I was like, well, this is more comfortable. And so that was challenged, and then continuing to heal and continuing to work with it and learning to embrace and become comfortable with it was my turning point, because one of the things that was really healed was fear. And so I wasn't afraid to be, myself, and I'm still discovering myself, but definitely learning to embrace who God called me to be. So the turning point was definitely just healing and doing the deep work.
Awesome. I love how you described inner healing and deliverance
Mm,
as learning that the trauma buried your diamond, and it is
mm,
the process of digging it out.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is awesome. And then also, by what you just shared with us, also what I was hearing is how you took on an artificial form of personality, presence, and engagement with people by
mm,
observing everyone
mm,
around you. So it's like kind of like picking out things from observations,
mm,
observing others because of that, that secure place you created for yourself internally. But
right.
once you started to work and the engage the inner healing work,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Helen, she catching
Mm-hmm.
everything. Once you begin to engage in the healing work, God in you, the Holy Spirit began to challenge those things that you put on through
Mm-hmm.
observation. And so it's like, hey, challenge it because it's like, oh, this not really you.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You wearing other people armor. Let's take that
yeah,
off so I could
yeah.
clothe you
Right,
in your
right.
prophetic purpose for being. So that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And another thing too, how you say you're even still discovering yourself. And that's another part of the inner healing and deliverance from trauma as well. It's all about self-discovery. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's a continuum, it's a lifestyle for us because we are human beings. We're learning to decrease of our humanity to increase
Mm-hmm.
in his divinity that resides in us. And so there's a continuum. We're always learning something
Yeah.
about ourselves. Go deep, man. Love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So share with us one of the ways that you exercise your freedom from your freedom of expression. One, two, however many you want.
So, just I've already done it. I can't help that I love to communicate poetically. Like, instead of just saying, "Hey, I acknowledge that I have something like everybody else to offer the world, but I lost my parents, and I don't. I feel no one was there to show me. No one was there to mentor me and lead me." Instead of saying that, I have to say something like, I know that I'm a flower. I have the potential to be a flower, and I have a seed. But I feel like no one was there to water me. I feel like my soil is contaminated, and my flower pot is shattered. I can't help it. Like I have to communicate creatively and poetically, and that's one of the ways I do it as well. One of the other ways that took a little bit more deep diving is being compassionate. Get compassionate. Like, when my definition of a man was, authority, my way, be tough, and God broke that and challenged that, was like, that's actually not what being a man is. That's not what being mature and masculine is. It's actually loving. And so the thing that made me most frustrated when I got into it was people, is that deep down I always try to see their side. And though I would argue with them and I would battle, I always would see it, and I always will, yeah, definitely try to, have a perspective. And God really was like, that's who you really are. You're a mediator. You're compassionate. You have empathy. And so, I'm still working on it, because I'm still inclined to, like, you know, when I have run-ins with people, I'm still inclined to kind of, like, but I'm aware, and that's the first thing that people understand. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get there overnight. You might become aware first, and then you do the work. So I'm definitely aware of that now, and I'm trying my best to express that. Communicating, and then engaging with people, and then presence. Um, Again, same thing. Just trying to let off my authentic, divine aroma of who Javis is, so people can see who I really am, and I can attract the right people and help the right people and stuff like that. So it's like I said, it's still a work in progress, but as I continue to heal, I'm able to be more boldly in who I am.
Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Definitely, you are definitely one who is aware. Yes, most indeed. And what I heard you say is that self awareness is key to freedom of expression. You cannot exercise your freedom of expression if you are not self aware.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so that is the number one key. That's the number one tool. And then the ways that you exercise that tool of freedom of expression, of your self-awareness and authenticity, and even your self continuing the engagement and process of self-discovery, is
mm-hmm,
through communicating poetically, really thinking in terms of analogies to express yourself,
mm-hmm,
compassion, being more compassionate, and a mediator when it comes to engaging people and relationships. So
mm-hmm,
those are the ways that you shared with us, and we really grow in that as we go through our inner healing and deliverance journeys from trauma, because
mm-hmm,
really in those areas we actually block a lot of that off when we're
yeah,
still inflicted by our traumas. You
right,
know, trauma
right,
really cuts off the lifeline for us to operate in that fashion. Welcome,
mm-hmm,
Miss Kesa. Thank you for joining us. That awareness will keep you from going back and staying in bondage, like a way to exercise and grow into the healed you. So we're
mm-hmm.
exercising and growing into the healed version of ourselves. Absolutely, Miss Shavia. So so yeah, so that's some good stuff. Well, let's get on into the juicy
Mm-hmm.
juicy now. So snap, snap, snap. Because remember, you all, we have a book coming out later on this year in the second quarter of 2022. And the subtitle is Healing Hearts with Prophetic Poetry. We'll share with you the title when we closer to the release date, okay? When you start seeing some flyers and stuff about the book. So, share with us one of the poems that speaks to your heart the most when it comes to really navigating some of the toughest storms in life, that's actually written by someone else. And then share with us one of your originals that's written by you.
Okay.
Woohoo.
Let me
Look at
pull
them,
it
they
over.
like fire. Whoop whoop. Yes, yes, yes. And so while Mr. Javis is getting prepared to snap, snap for some spoken word, I want to invite you all to join us for our clubhouse after party this evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it's about a good 30, 40 minutes after we complete this segment here via this live broadcast. And then you will have the opportunity to speak and really engage the conversation with us on Clubhouse. So don't miss that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Don't think I'm corny, but it is Distressed by Nataushia Miller.
I should have made that what do you call it? One of them little guidelines. It can't be something by me. Now I'm just messing with y'all.
I
All
like this one. I
right.
like it.
Go ahead. Go
Distressed.
ahead.
Okay. So, and then I'll narrate why. I'll go through some of the points that really stood out shortly after. Surrounded by darkness, searching for the light, a need for strength, power, supernatural might, oppressed by negative powers, blinded by a desolate atmosphere, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally distraught, as if my heart has been completely torn apart, mind polluted with unknown thoughts, soul lost between forces not yet caught, spirit exhausted, gasping for breath, as life approached by death. And so the reason I like this one because the first part, surrounded by darkness. My darkness was no leadership and guidance. That was like I didn't have any light. So it was very hard. I felt like I was always competing with people who could see in life. So I felt like darkness immediately. Searching for light is what I talked about earlier as far as me adapting and taking bits and pieces from everybody else. I'm looking for some light, like I'm looking for guidance. It's not that I want to be a rebel, right? I'm trying, you know. And then a need for strength, right? Felt very weak, and I was upset with God because why did you make me so big and I felt so small, you know? And then those are the parts that really took me, like those first few lines. But this is why I chose yours.
Mm,
Mm,
that's good. That's good. I love that the darkness, no leadership and guidance, and
mm,
competing with those who can see.
yeah.
That's big. And then big because you're tall. So very tall, a tall man, tall young man, because you probably grew tall early on, young too, and it's in your genes, and yet felt so small and weak internally. Oh my
Mm,
goodness, all of those conflicting things, and for you to have, and then we understand that you shared some of your story about how you lost your parents while you were in elementary,
mm,
and so it's different when others, and other family members can come in, and things of that nature, but we all want our own.
yeah. Yeah.
We all want our own, and to not even really have the time or the space or the guidance to even process all of those emotions,
Mm,
pertaining to that trauma, and
mm,
then yet feel disconnected from those who are now your caregivers, because as a child that they don't love you to the
mm,
degree and depth as your natural parents. So,
yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my, that is really,
Wow.
really some deep stuff. Woo! Oh my goodness. And we know he had some healing, y'all, because he could share all that without breaking down. Praise God. All right. So now share with us one of your original pieces. We're
All right.
excited.
So this is from you want from the book we have releasing?
If you want to, you choose whichever of
Okay.
your pieces that you want to share. It could be from one that's going to be in the book or one of your others.
Okay. I'll do one from the book because I feel like this is very important for any healing. So I call this one "Man in the Mirror." So it's funny that we have this concept of metaverse out because I definitely created my own when I internalized. And the reason I named it Man in the Mirror is because I had no mirrors in my world. Right, there was no I was wrong about anything, you know. And while we do go through things in life that that aren't self-inflicted, it does get to a point where the residue does contaminate your decision making, you know. And no matter how much we want to blame other people, we have to take ownership of the things we played a part in, and then of the whole process, if we really are to truly heal. So I call this one "Man in the Mirror" because it was very hard to do that when I started healing and asked Javis, okay, but what part did you play? This is "Man in the Mirror." I hide because I'm sensitive. I definitely won't show initiative, the audacity to get upset when people reject my representative. I decided to take ownership. This is me. It's time to address the man in the mirror. Welcome to my soliloquy. What if the race was actually fair and I just forgot to tie my shoes? What if I got the same sunrise, but I kept wanting to snooze? It's time to accept my flaws. This is me. Well, I have to address the man in the mirror. Welcome to my soliloquy. What if it doesn't have to be a free fall and I can fly like everyone else? Have I justified my excuses because I'm hurt? Yeah, I have to check myself. People will always be people, but this is me. I have to address the man in the mirror. This is my soliloquy. What if I've mistaken help for hurt because I couldn't see? Distorted perspective made me a detective interrogating those close to me. It's time I've accepted the part I played. This is me. Glad I can now look in the mirror and put it all behind me.
That's good. That's good. Let's get some snap, 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 snap. Welcome, Miss Lucy. Thank you for joining us. We got some snap, snap, snap. um, what stood out to me is that line: "Mistaken help for hurt."
Yeah, yeah,
Because of distorted perspective, and that goes
yeah.
back to what you were saying, how some, eventually, if we don't deal with it, the residue will contaminate our decision making, and that's
Mhm,
even our lenses through which we
mhm.
see, to where we may mistaken help for hurt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Yes, love it. She said hers is, well, if I forgot to tie my shoe.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this was great. Any
Mhm.
questions to those of you who are with us for the live broadcast? Do you have a question? Since we have a few minutes left before we roll out. This has been a nice conversation on freedom of expression and how it will help you become and be your best self
Mhm.
after trauma, as well as live your best life after traumatic experiences. Now, let's give a few more seconds to see if any questions drop in the chat. Any questions? Anyone? Let us know in the chat. Okay, so here we go. How did you come up with that poem? What does it
Mhm.
mean to you personally?
Yeah. So, one of the things, like as a kid, you don't. It takes time to learn how to really take ownership, right? So when you're a kid, nothing's your fault. So I kind of had to wrestle with that arrested development feeling of that every like people owe me something, or that I didn't do anything wrong. And like when I began to heal, I had to really look at every scenario and the part I played in it, indirectly or directly. And it was very hard. There were some things I just did not want to examine. But once I looked at it and really was honest, honest about it, it really helped me. So it was just like looking in the mirror, and just seeing, who I was, and the hurt I caused. Why I experienced hurt, but the hurt I caused as well. So, and then to be okay with making mistakes. That's one of the things in my metaverse. Like I wanted everything to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, but God introduced me into reality, and it all kind of worked out in plan as far as like looking in the mirror and just understanding that, hey, this is it, this is us, this is who we are. Embrace it, accept it. He doesn't make any mistakes, and you are who you are, and you're built the way you're built for a reason.
Mm. Yeah, and you just said a whole mouthful right there. Miss Shavia says, free to be me. This was a great discussion, especially love the poetry. Um, and the metaverse you created internally, because I want to highlight this since we got this metaverse stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted everything to be perfect, but God introduced you to reality
Mm-hmm.
and how it's okay to make mistakes. And then
Mm-hmm.
also when you said when you were wrestling with your arrested development
Mm-hmm.
and how things would come up, and there were some things you just really did not want to examine.
Mm-hmm.
And that really brought to me how idolatry is really, how connected that is to our traumas and our
Mm-hmm.
internalized traumas,
Mm-hmm.
because now we've created these idols, and then we defend them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when it's
Yeah.
challenged, it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, no, this is mine.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
my virtual reality that I created. I don't
Yeah.
want to accept reality,
Yeah.
and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And so I really wanted to highlight that because that's really key. I had a dream about the whole metaverse, and that's really what the people in the dream was. It was just like no, this
mm,
is real, and
mm,
I'm about to
yeah,
attack you and
yeah,
kill you if you try to tell me otherwise.
mm, yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah,
And oh
yeah,
my goodness. So yeah,
yeah,
I just want because we got this whole mess. So be safe. Let's be
mm,
prayerful, people, because
mm,
I think we about to see a wave of folks lose their mind with that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
all right. So one more question. Awesome. It was what I thought knowing you. Laugh out loud. When did you know you were a poet at age situation? Like not when you start, but when you came to know that you are a poet.
Um, I think it was around time when I lost my parents. We went to this park and we went to this not a zoo. It was a nature park, and we were doing this. We had this stretch of weeks where we were doing writing, creating stories and stuff like that. And so when we came back, they was like, "Okay, guys, write a poem," because we had been studying poems. And it just came to me. Like most people know me for basketball, but a lot of people don't know that the first thing I ever picked up was a pen, and I started writing. And I wrote it so and I liked it, and everybody was coming up to me and basically telling me like this is really good. And in elementary when they put your stuff on the bulletin board, you're pretty official. So that's pretty much when I knew, okay, I like doing this. I didn't really know anything about poetry. I'm a kid, but that's when I knew, okay, I like this. And every writing assignment, I blew out the water because I was able to be creative.
Mm. And what I just heard when you said that is that your creative ability, your wisdom, your freedom of expression through analogies and things of that nature, that's God using that to make the inside of you just as big as your external.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was the tool to where the two
Yeah,
match. Because
yeah,
when you said at that time, it's like you felt on the inside this so small and weak, and but yeah, I'm big on the outside, so no one could see. From the
hmm,
outside looking in, we think you all good. You
yeah,
holding so I could see why that was a conflict because it's like, but
yeah,
nobody can really see how I'm really feeling on the inside. But
yeah,
yet God is using that tool
yeah.
to
That's right.
mature the inside to the level, the degree, the magnitude, and even far above your
Hmm.
appearance externally. And
That's
so that's
right.
what I heard when you was talking. I was like,
Yeah.
woo-wee, that's good right there. First thing I picked up was a pen before a basketball. See, the basketball matches the external, but that
Hmm.
that that pen it
Hmm.
signifies the internal. Okay,
Hmm.
come on
Yeah.
now, somebody. Do y'all know the difference between the two when it comes to you?
Oh man.
All right. Hey, that's something to think about. That's a question for y'all out there.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between the two when it comes to you?
Yeah. That's
I
right.
love it. So, any closing remarks as we close out this conversation, Mr. Javis?
Um, Man, you don't have to be creative like me. Everybody has a diamond, but I do advise everybody to dig it up. Even if you're doing well, I feel pretty accomplished, right? Even despite of what I've been through, graduated high school, just be all eyes, right? Went to college, graduated college, went and played professionally, and the whole time I'm battling inside. So there is a way of overriding what you truly feel and are going through, but there is a time where it could come crumbling down. And thank God that I met Nataushia Miller just in time because it could have got worse. So I just encourage everybody, no matter how good things are going for you, um, don't override what you truly know is you're struggling with, you know, and don't be afraid to take that deep dive and do that internal work. Your future self will definitely appreciate it.
Yes, not only your future self, but everyone connected to you.
Yeah, everybody can, yeah.
All right, we would definitely appreciate it. We waiting for the healed version of you to show up now.
Mm,
Come on.
mm, yeah,
People often misconstrue our appearance for strength, not
yeah,
realizing that the inner man is weak.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
So yes, I absolutely agree with that 100%. Don't override your external accomplishments, and
Mm-hmm.
make sure you take the time to deal with that which was going on internally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Great
Yeah.
closing remarks, and I have nothing to add to that. All right, you all. So, to those of you who are able, we invite you once again to join us in 30 minutes on Clubhouse, where you can engage with us in conversation and have a little after party dialogue on this
Mm.
topic, freedom of expression. So, this is your freedom coach, Nataushia Miller, and author Javis Howard, signing off until next time. Peace and freedom to you all.
Bye, y'all.